I'm gonna give this a few more seconds to make sure we're good to go. Because it says something about can't connect, so I want to make sure. And I am not driving. I'm not driving. I'm currently parked in the middle of the road, trying to not trying to, but waiting to get unloaded, waiting to get in the parking lot to get in line to get loaded. Still technically in line, but yeah, peace and blessings, fam. Peace and blessings. Shalom at Barak. Peace in finding your blessings, and in blessings we find peace. Right? To find peace is a blessing. I tell you that much. I tell you that much. Per usual, if I'm hopping on here, I got a story or I got a word, and both of those is in the same thing. So we're gonna start. Let's see. So this is about this Saturday. The plan is, ABBA willing, to go into a study on respecting where ABBA has placed you, right? And we're going into David. David's name can be seen in Hebrew character. You can find a study of it to understand deeper the name and his work that ABBA has spoken into this earth, for David to do, right? So we have a dalat, which is a door. We have a vav, which is nailed in place. We also have an ion, if you want to see that I in his name and add that as an image, right? To grab what it is nailed to in one door, to create an image or a work of it that is righteous, and taking that through another door, or a place to be received, a place to be a place to leave seed to be again, or for something to grow from it, things along that nature, right? We're going into what I said before. I noticed in this season, Abba's leading us to study, or really leading me to study, and to see who wants to study with me. The study of a cave season, a dwelling place. This can also be seen in the Hebrew character Ba'ait, B-A-A-Y-T, B-E-I-T. It is a dwelling place, a cave. Also can be seen as a tent. We're going to go into the study along the lines of David about Jehosheba, right? We're going to go deeper into that. I'm not going to go too deep right now. But also we're going to talk about Priscilla too as well, and her husband, and Paul, and the workers they had together. But we're going to go ahead on this part that I was led to through a situation just being in about David, right? So David, oftentimes when he was running away from Saul, he would go to a cave. He would hide in caves. And oftentimes a great study method is to look at people in the Bible, where they go, what's in that environment, what they're surrounded by, and that's going to give you a deeper lesson as in what's going on, right? So David ran to a lot of caves. What does that mean? In that cave, there are what? There are bats, spiders, spider webs. He's going to this place, and David's gonna look at things around him and interpret things correctly and righteously through the hand of Abba, which is Yah, right? Or Yavad. He's going to interpret things properly, and he's going to be looking at the bats. He's going to be looking at the spiders and the spider webs, and how these things relate to what he's going on, what's going on in his life. The webs can be interpreted in two different ways. These are just suggestions to go in on study with, right? A web, a spider can be can be interpreted two different ways, right? Plans, either mischievous or righteous, to see a mischievousness of a plan, or to be able to see the spider web and to be ahead of things. He will also look at bats in those caves and stuff like that too. Bats fly at night. They also fly during the day. They're often seen as an evil creature for some reason, when they're just winged creatures, or a birds of the fowl of the air, beasts of the field, fish of the sea. So they would be considered a fowl of the air, a winged creature, not necessarily an evil creature. It's a misunderstood thing, right? Oftentimes in life, we get put in situations where we'll use bats for example. A bat would be normally seen at night, but is now around in the day. And the thought process for a time is now in a different time, and it's misconstrued and miscombobulated, right? You can oftentimes find that people are in a different place and don't know the right set of mind to use. So be aware of this. Are you respecting exactly where Abba placed you? Where he places you in, or what he places you in, is not considered a stumbling block unless you haven't thought about it all the way, right? Now, bear with me on what I even mean by that. See, a stumbling block is something that is, right, a stumbling block. So a stumbling block, to be a stumbling block, it must have been stumbled over to be a stumbling block, right? But if you pick it up and examine it and see what's really going on with this thing, and then cast it to the side, it's not a stumbling block, but it's something that you're aware of now, because it might come up in another hand, either by you or by somebody else. An example of that would be David. David would take 5 smooth stones, right, for Goliath. And he would go through many stones in the rivers of waters. He would pick them up and he would see if they're smooth. And if they weren't smooth, he would cast them back, right? What water does, or what elements do with water, they smooth stones over time. So he's flipping these stones that would possibly become smooth for later times to use, because he did not just use a slingshot one time, right? Oftentimes, we could say that that's people, right? These stumbling blocks, or these rough stones, they're only used, well, let's see, if you use them, you would use them in a way that's incorrect if they're not fully smooth, right? Or you would be able to be around them in a way that's not correct because they're not really ready yet. But you had to be aware of that. As being the righteous waters, as being in the righteous waters and things of that nature, you had to be aware of these things, right? So what happened a few moments ago was, I'm in line in the street, right? And where I'm at is proper and understood that, the inside of the lot is crowded, okay? It's crowded inside the lot, so therefore it's better to be outside, right? So I'm honking the horn at this other driver. And I'm like, hey, you don't want to go in there? We got to line up over here. He doesn't want to hear that. So he goes in. So me being the one knowing these waters and stuff like that, I'm going to step my foot in, and I'm not going to be taken away by these waters, right? We're going to show the action of this. So I go up to him, and I'm like, hey, not trying to jump on you or anything, not trying to jump anything, not trying to start anything, but right here, you see these trucks, these 2 trucks got to pull out. This is probably not the most convenient place for you to be for that. And because there's a line. And he was like, I know. So the one thing he heard was there's a line. That's about all he needed. That's all he had in his mind, right? And I told him as well after that, I'm like, hey man, he said, no, I got to check in. I was like, no, you don't have to check in. You just put the paperwork in the back of the trailer, and when you're in line in your space, you just back in. That's it. He's like, oh, you don't have to check in? I'm like, no. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, but I thought you knew, right? But you don't throw that out there. So then he's like, hey, I guess that means I got to find a way to turn around about this place. I'm like, yeah, but I got you. I'm going to guide you up out of here. I'm going to get you back on your way. I'm going to put you back in the waters. And you're going to swim correctly and be smoothened by this process, and then be able to know for the next time without any confrontation, right? Anybody else, usually you'll see truckers go head to head, and you'll see videos of truckers going wild because nobody knows how to talk to anybody, right? Nobody knows how to properly interact with anybody. So I was able to do this because I went into the study of David, preparing for Shabbat, for Saturday. Now again, David was able to take something from a door and nail it properly in place when it comes to the Psalms and things like that. Of course, we know David messed up a few times, right? We know that everybody messes up, but he was able to take this, right? Take what he was given and hold it in a properly nailed place. Look at the imagery and what it could be created from it and what he's looking at, right? What the situation is, what the painted picture is, what Abba has placed you in to respect, right? And then properly disperse that, or properly relate that through a door, or through an interpretation, or through a mindset that's able to be received. So when David's in the cave, again, I'm gonna close this out. This is a really quick one anyway. When David's in the cave, he escapes to a cave for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing is in vain. So when David escapes from it and goes to a cave, what's in that place? What's inside of that cave that he has to be aware of? He's going to have to know of the patterns and the lifestyles and the tendencies of these things in there. He's going to be looking at these things in there. What David does is that he'll be put in a situation and he'll meditate on it. and come back with a song. You know, that what's going on in that cave with the bats and the spiders and the spider webs and the crawling creatures. Also look into the difference between clean insects and not clean insects. You can do that as well. Look at grasshoppers and locusts versus other creeping, crawling things on the ground, right? That's pretty much it. It wasn't really to go into depth or anything. It was just a quick relation, and I'm like, hey, that goes to the lesson of Shabbat, or the study of Shabbat that we're going into as we study David, as we study Jehosheba. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I'm thinking in my mind Hebrew characters, so I'm trying to say it so that it would be looked up, using 5 words instead of 1,000 for those that were there this last Shabbat. And how she took Joash, right, in a place where the one ruler, woman, or we're going to say a way of wisdom, was trying to take out all of the royalty family and stuff like that to try to have her things set in place and things of that nature. But Joash will be a descendant of David, right? That's why we're going into that study. We're also going to jump over and kind of relate Priscilla and Paul and Apostolos or something like that, I believe. I haven't gone too much in depth with that because I want to research the names some more too as well. And the surroundings and knowing that this work that we're in, right, with that last part about Paul and everything like that, with Priscilla and her husband. And I keep saying Priscilla because her name was put first, right? When Paul wrote the letters addressing, he put her name first, which wasn't an orthodox thing. It was to put the male's name first and then his wife's name, but he put her name first and then her husband's name. So we're going to think about wisdom and what that really means too. But not going in too deep into that because that's going to be for Shabbat. But in that story, they were witnessing and helping somebody that didn't really know how to relate something or didn't really know how to express something properly in the culture as he was teaching, right? But they didn't do it in a way that was rude. They just noticed that there was somebody giving a message, but it wasn't a full message, right? It wasn't everything that needed to be said. So basically, how that relates to what's happened today is that I was getting the message from this driver, but he wasn't hearing the message. He wasn't giving the message properly because he wasn't properly giving a message. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't properly able to see what was going on and properly create that or know or acknowledge that imagery in his mind. He wasn't able to properly see right through the door because, you know, I started off saying, hey, I'm not trying to jump on anything, but he gave me an attitude right back, you know, not able to hear correctly, not being able to be nailed properly in place. But as we're out here, I was talking to my sister the other day. One thing that we got to know is that these people don't know us, right? They don't know us. They don't know the people that are in the righteous way. They don't know what this is. But when we come against somebody, literally, because we come in contact, right? So coming in contact is against. They're going to come off on us because it's something they don't know how to interpret. It's something they don't know how to nail in place. They're like, what is this? What is this person even doing? You know, maybe even why is this person even being nice to me? You know what I'm saying? So when we're out here, as we're doing the work, because we're supposed to be out here and doing this work, we're thankful that these people don't know you. These people don't know you. They're not going to know you. So be prepared to be calm. Be prepared to pick up some stones. Be prepared to see if it's smooth or not on both sides. So be prepared to put that stone back in water and let that stone be tilled, if you will, by the waters and by the ways of life, so that way they're able to properly handle this, because they were given away through the way that we act, through the way we interpret things, and through the way that we give them advice by just being who we're supposed to be, which is received either way. Because at the end of the day, what happened in that situation, that driver had to go out and he still had to get in line behind me, right? But there was no animosity. There was no ha I told you so. The reason even at the end that there wasn't any escalated intentions or any situation was because I was able to handle it so calmly. It was because I was able to, you know, still, even though he tried to send some little jabs at me, it still wasn't anything, because I'm still gonna be aware that, hey, if I mess up like this, I'm gonna get even more punishment than anything going on in this situation. I'm gonna get hurt even more. it's gonna eat away in my mind because I knew I was better than that, right? But yeah, that was about it. That was about it. Just be mindful as we're out here that these people don't know you, and be mindful that the stumbling blocks aren't stumbling blocks. They're points of contact for a reason. It's for awareness. It's for purpose. For nothing is vain. So respect where ABBA has placed you in every situation, in every moment, because nothing is vain. If he placed you there, there's a work to be done there. It's going to be in your mind and it's going to be in life, but be prepared for that. Respect where ABBA has placed you. Also, be aware of your filter, right? Have you checked your filter? Being aware of malice, because it says in 1 Corinthians 14, we read this past Saturday, in malice, be a child. And malice don't require sincere milk, because you should be already ready for that. But as a child, you're supposed to be able to be understanding of things and things of that nature too as well. But in understanding, be man, or be grown, be complete, be whole in understanding. So in malice, be aware of a child. Be aware of the mindset. Be aware of these things. And in understanding, be grown. Alright? You marinate on that. All that great stuff. That was about it. Again, just giving like a precursor, I guess, for this Shabbat, this Saturday, what's going on. But peace and blessings, fam. Peace and blessings. I'm ended here. Until next time. Peace.